Well, hello again, English 210, listening comprehension. And sadly, this is our last lecture. Don't cry too much. At any rate, all good things must end, we say. And of course, I feel hopeful that you will have had a successful experience in this course, and I hope that you will attempt the final exam in a good spirit, and that's what I mainly want to do at the start of this lecture, is to encourage you. Now, last Thursday evening we had a live session, and there will be another one at the end of this week. And so it was interesting to see the comments or the questions of many students, and many students are very concerned about how they're being tested. I have talked about this, but it seems to be something that bears repeating. So let me again emphasize that the homework passages, I should say homework exercises, that you were given are meant to prepare you for the manner of the final exam. Now, please, the manner, the way you will be tested. Exactly the same, with one little exception that I'll explain. You remember homework 1, where you had a listening passage about going to the beach? Well, you will have a listening passage at the beginning of your final exam. I can't tell you the subject. I wouldn't. I could, but I won't. I won't tell you. It wouldn't be right. But I can tell you that it will be similar to one of the passages that you have done, just as the homework was similar to Unit 3. Now, your listening passage in the final might be similar to, and it wasn't Unit 3, sorry, it was similar to Unit 2. That was the camping and the going to the beach. Unit 1 was about at the getting an apartment and, yes, that business of the introduction to the language center, orientation. Yeah, and well, it could be something like that. Unit 3, we had last lecture, we reviewed that, about healthy eating. It could be that. So it could be any of the 6 topics in a way, meaning similar to it, same way. Okay? So that's listening passage. And then, as you remember, your second homework passage had 3 parts: 5 items of reduction, 5 items of close, and 5 items of vocabulary. Yes, there will be sections on the final exam of those. I won't tell you how many items, but there will be a section on each of those. And then there will be one section that was not in the homework, there wasn't time to put it there, and that is contexts. Remember the context? We had some last lecture where you hear a conversation, and then you have to choose the right answer. Now, remember something I've told you before. In listening, you hear things how many times? Once? Twice? 3 times? Twice. Twice. Once to hear, once to check. Now, in the listening passage, you will hear the whole passage again. In the items about reduction, you hear the item again. When you come to close, you hear the item again. Vocabulary, you hear the item, meaning like number 2, 3, 4, you hear what is said. In the context, it'll be a little different, and I thought it a good idea today to give you an example of that. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me just take, randomly, I'm going to take one of the units. This happens to be I happen to be in Unit 4. Okay, so let's have a look here at the context you had here. Now, in this context, notice it says in a post office, in a bank, in a gas station. Now, of course, on your final exam, you'll have 5 items to choose from. Now, with that in mind, I'm now going to read you the context as you will hear it if it was on the final exam. All right, so remember, you have these 3 places. Of course, on the final, you'll have 5 of them, okay? Now, listen to this passage. Sorry, here we go. Sorry, I was in the wrong area. Next, please. I'd like to cash this. Sure. Don't forget to sign the back. Do you have an account with us? No, not at this branch. Then I'll have to ask to see your identification. Now, then I would ask you, look at the choices. Choose the correct. Where are these people speaking? In a post office? In a bank? In a gas station? Now, you heard them say, cash. I'd like to cash this. Write your name on the back. Do you have an account with us? Not at this branch. Branch, account, cash, well, that's a bank, huh? From the context, you know that. So when I do this on an exam, I would say, where are these people? I'll give you time to answer it, and then repeat, where are these people? The context will not be repeated, huh? The item will be repeated for context, just so you know that, so you don't wait and want to hear it again. Now, coming back to the points that I wanted to mention to you. Okay, that was about context and about the final exam. Now, today I had also, I'm looking for a piece of paper. I made a note to myself today because someone called and was wondering about the listening passage again, whether it's exactly the same. Please, I've covered this already. No, but it will be similar. So if you understood the passages we did, it will be easy to understand the passage that we have in our on our exam. All right. I'm thinking now of all these different things people asked last Thursday, and maybe they'll ask at the next live. Some people said, you know, couldn't I repeat it more often? No, this is standard procedure. You see, because if you're listening and you don't know, will you hear 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, this becomes distracting. But when you know it's 2 times, and really the idea in language testing of any sort is that your response should be immediate. You know, if someone, like in the example of the last context, if I ask you, where are these people? And you think, well, was it a bank or was it? If you have to wait and think a long time, then probably you have not learned the necessary vocabulary for that. But you do hear it one last time just to check in case you made a mistake. And remember something I mentioned last Thursday, a basic point in exam taking: don't change easily. What do I mean? If you put an answer down, it's probably the right one. Usually if we know something, we will know it immediately. Start thinking about it, you may force yourself to change it, but you should never change unless you're sure. You know why you changed. Don't say, oh, I think it's that. Otherwise, usually leave your answer unless you're sure of a different one being correct. Some other questions about the exam. Some people wanted to know, would I be there? I will be there in spirit. Yes, in spirit, not in the flesh. That is to say, there will be a cassette or a CD, both are available, with a voice that you now know, meaning my voice, on it. So you'll be hearing the same voice, and I think that's very good for you, because sometimes if you hear a different accent or a different way of speaking, that may make it difficult. So I do give you that assurance. You'll be hearing the same familiar voice. I hope you don't mind. One more time. But I will not be physically present, and but that's no problem, huh? And really, it's only right, because I could not be at all of the centers, and it wouldn't be right to test some people this way, some people that way. We say in an exam, to be valid, everyone should have the same conditions, huh? We can't do one this way and one that way. So everybody should be tested the same way. So yes, it will be a recorded exam, and you'll be able to listen to it and do your answers. Now I come back to my first point. I can't emphasize this enough. Have faith in yourself and encourage yourself. don't expect to do wrong, expect to do right on the exam. Huh? Use what you hear to answer. And also, if you've been working with me and with this course for the last weeks, your first impression of an answer will probably be the right one. Because you know your mind stores so many things. I'm sure you know this type of thing also. Like you go to a city that you visited many times, you turn the street and you didn't even realize it because your subconscious knows that. So please look at this in a positive sense. And I very much hope that you will all do very well. I see no reason why you shouldn't. Now, if you have still a particular question about particular things, of course, you're most welcome to contact me by email or by phone. I am going to tell you, I think it's better to contact by email because we have clarity, perfect clarity. Sometimes by phone I found the connection was not so good. I wasn't always sure if I was hearing exactly what what the person wanted to tell me. So I think you should avail yourself of email, but you're most welcome to call. It's your right, it's your privilege, and I'm sure you've been told my office hours and my the mobile that I have from the e-learning deanship for you to contact me. Well, I could go on and on, I suppose, but I think I've covered most of the territory that is needed. We do have one more chance to interact, and that is we do have this live session that will be next Thursday evening for the women, for the men at 5 and for the women at 6:30. So if you did have some, what should I say, some concern or something that you wish to discuss, that will be another opportunity for you to do it. Well, I seem to be running out of things to tell you. I should tell you it's been a pleasure doing this course with you, and I do thank those of you who sent such kind comments. I thank all of you who have had questions. I also, maybe this is the case for many of you, it appears there an error slipped into one of the, when one of the homework exercises was typed, and there was the same answer twice, but that was changed quickly, so it didn't affect you. And I hope you all did well on the homework exercises. I certainly would like to see that. And it's my hope that you will succeed, and if you succeed, it may be that I will see you again in a further course. And I'm just trying to think of anything that I should be. I'm looking at my notes here for a moment, if you'll excuse me. These are some of the things I wanted to say. We have had varied topics in these various units, but there's always been one goal, and that goal is comprehension. So we're always concerned that you understand. Now, in the listening passage, it's extensive, understanding what's happening, what's going on. In the intensive exercise, such as reductions or vocabulary, there we're looking for something much more specific, huh? So, but always the goal is understanding. And I would like to encourage you as well. Now, this is something also came up at the meeting last Thursday, how to go beyond this course. Well, you have a lot of options. There are many possibilities. It very much depends on you, what interests you. If you're interested in what's going on in the world, you might want to look at, watch some documentaries or listen to some radio programs. Now, I'm going to give you a very important piece of advice that many people overlook. If you're interested in improving your English, especially your comprehension of the spoken language, you do better to close your eyes or listen to radio. Because when you watch movies and you watch programs that are video, many times you're just following all the figures and all the activity, but you're not listening to the language. Now, I give you various options, what I tell many of my students, because movies can be so interesting. If you wish, watch the movie, But then close your eyes or sit with your back to it and listen to it, and then you're listening to the language, huh? Because I think you've had the experience also of, I've watched French movies, I've watched Russian movies, and I don't know what they're saying, but I certainly see what's happening. You can deceive yourself by watching movies. But if you enjoy them, fine. But then test them by listening to we call it the soundtrack, what they are saying. And then take down words you don't know. Then ask people, check your dictionary. Dictionary work is very useful with a context. Looking at a dictionary with no context is probably a useless exercise, unless you're very advanced in the language. But if you're building your language, you need a context in which you are developing that word. For example, if you take the word plant, you look at it, it has many meanings in English. It means, of course, these things that are growing. I think there's one over here, behind me here. See this plant over here? It's artificial. It's a plastic one, though. Yes, but that's a plant. But there are many other meanings of plant. A plant is a word for a large factory. He works, for example, in a paper plant or a steel plant. You might hear a context where someone says, you know, that is not my billfold, it was planted on me, meaning somebody put it there secretly. So when you look in the dictionary, you can get confused with all these meanings. But if you have a context, you can connect that word with that meaning and that context, and that's how you build your language. Now, I hope that this lecture, or series of lectures, this course, has provided you also with a context. And sometimes you may say, oh, orientation. Yes, I remember when we did that in Unit 1, or something like that. It would be my pleasure, because it would mean that we've had a successful course. Wish you all the best, and of course this is not the end. I'm around, you can ask me questions, but this is the final lecture. And so I say goodbye, wishing you all the best. Thank you for your attention and also for your kind comments.